What if the most powerful leadership development program your community has access to is already funded, already staffed, and already sitting in the heart of your neighborhood? Well, that question deserves a serious answer, especially now, when families are being pulled in a dozen directions by private schools, charter schools, online academies, micro schools, and homeschool co-ops, each promising something more tailored, more rigorous, or more innovative. As K-12 public school administrators and central office staff, you are living on the front lines of that tension every single day. You feel the weight of declining enrollment conversations, the pressure of marketing campaigns from competing institutions, and the quiet anxiety of wondering whether the story of public education is being told well enough. But here is what I know to be true. The story of public education, when it comes to growing leaders, is one of the most compelling stories in American life. And far too often, we are not telling it. Now, let me be honest about something I have observed in schools across the country. There is a pattern that quietly suffocates student leadership before it ever has a chance to breathe. It begins with the best of intentions. Administrators, under pressure to raise test scores, improve graduation rates, and satisfy accountability systems, begin to see extracurricular involvement like student government, honor societies, peer mentoring programs, and community service initiatives as the extra in extracurricular. They become the first things trimmed when the budget tightens or the calendar fills up. The thinking goes something like this: we will get to that once the academics are in order. But academics and leadership are not a sequence. They are a symphony. When one instrument is silenced, the whole performance suffers. What happens when we strip students of genuine responsibility? Well, we produce young people who are academically prepared, but civically hollow. They can solve for X, but they struggle to solve conflicts. They can write an essay about empathy, but they have never been given a real opportunity to practice it. That is not education in its fullest sense. That is preparation for a test, not preparation for a life. So let me share with you what changed my thinking around this topic. Years ago, I was working in a district that was quietly phasing out its peer mentoring program to redirect those hours toward remediation blocks. The principal who made that call was not a bad leader. She was under pressure. She was doing what the data seemed to demand. But one of her teachers, a veteran with more than 2 decades in the classroom, pulled her aside and told her about a student whom we will call Marcus. Marcus had come into the 9th grade 2 years behind in reading. He was disengaged, frequently in the office, and on the radar of every administrator in the building for the wrong reasons. Then something shifted. The school's peer mentoring coordinator, recognizing something in Marcus that the test scores did not, invited him to mentor a struggling sixth grader. Marcus said yes, almost reluctantly. Within one semester, Marcus's attendance improved. His grades climbed. His discipline referrals dropped to 0. When asked what changed, Marcus said something that I have never forgotten. When somebody needed me, I couldn't let them down. That is the power of genuine responsibility. That is what John Maxwell means when he reminds us that everything rises and falls on leadership. You see, Marcus didn't become a leader because he was given a lecture on leadership. He became one because someone trusted him with a real role, a real relationship, and a real purpose. The peer mentoring program stayed, and Marcus graduated. So the evidence has been building for decades, and research confirms it. Student participation in school-based civic and leadership activities, including student government, honor societies such as the National Honor Society and Junior ROTC, as well as structured community service, is directly linked to stronger civic engagement in adulthood, higher rates of volunteerism, and greater career success. The Search Institute's research on developmental assets consistently identifies service to others and responsibility as two of the most powerful protective factors in adolescent development. And yet, here is where many schools, even well-intentioned ones, go wrong. They offer leadership in name, but not in practice. A student council that plans one dance per year is not a leadership laboratory. A community service requirement checked off on a form without reflection is not service learning. It is service logging. The difference lies in compliance versus transformation. So the right answer is not simply to have more programs. It is to trust students with more meaning. When public schools create structures that give students genuine voice in school governments, train and support them as peer mentors, and connect their community service to real problems in real neighborhoods, something remarkable happens. Students do not just become better students, they become better humans. This is where traditional public schools hold an advantage that is rarely celebrated loudly enough, because public schools are community institutions. They are uniquely positioned to connect student leadership to the actual civic life of the communities they serve. A student in a traditional public school is not just practicing leadership in a controlled environment. They are practicing it alongside neighbors, across socioeconomic lines, within the authentic complexity of a diverse democracy. The National Honor Society, established in 1921 through the National Association of Secondary School Principals, was built on 4 pillars: scholarship, leadership, service, and character. Now, these are not abstract virtues. In a traditional public school, they are lived daily through the friction and fellowship of a community that reflects the real world. Stephen Covey wrote that the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. For public school leaders reading this, the call is clear. Prioritize the leadership development of your students, not as a supplement to your academic mission, but as the very heart of it. So as you think about your own school or district, consider this. Are your students being assigned leadership, or are they being trusted with it? Are your programs producing students who know how to follow rules, or students who know how to lead people? The most extraordinary investment you can make in your community's future is not in a new curriculum adoption or a technology upgrade. It is the deliberate, sustained, unapologetic commitment to growing leaders from the inside out, right inside the walls of your public school. Because everything, as Maxwell reminds us, rises and falls on leadership. And public schools, your public schools, are still the best place in the world to grow it.